Hey everybody, Carm Capriato, another Carmcast. It's actually a Carmcast 101, and it is PAVE, the Professional Automotive Virtual Education Program, Part 2. Yes, last week we did a great, I'm telling you, we released it as a podcast episode today. If you want to hear what PAVE is all about and listen to some really great people talk about their role in the PAVE training, please listen to the Carmcast 100 that was released today. It's in your podcast stream. I got a great panel here for PAVE Part 2. G Trulia is back. I don't know why I did this, but I said, G, you got to come back because you made it so easy for me last time. Actually, if you listen to the episode, you'll realize that he was the MC. He was just did such a great job. So, G, thank you for being back. Wayne
Thanks, Carl.
Colonna is with us. Wayne, it's been a long time since I've seen you, the director of quality for ETE and the president of ATSG. He's going to do a seminar at PAVE. I love the title of this, Transability Meets Drivability.
Yeah, quite a unique title.
It's so clever.
Yeah.
As a transmission specialist, I love it. You can talk about more about that later. Also with us is Tom. He's not here yet, but he's working on it. And I have lost all my paperwork. Hey, Ken Zanders.
Ken Zanders.
Yeah, General Motors Infotainment and MOST system. Ken, what's that all about? You're going to teach.
Well, it actually brings upon an interesting discussion, even from the start. And basically, when I speak to possible or potential attendees, I will ask them one important question: can you live without your radio? And I will now pose that question to each and every one of you. Can you
No.
live without your radio?
No,
I need my radio.
You need your radio? What about
I
you,
do.
Wayne?
Absolutely. Have to have it.
Well, that means that due to the fact that this is a system that has a communication environment within, this generates opportunities for unique repairs to radio systems for General Motors. And basically, if you understand their data, you can win at this system. No one
Wow.
teaches the data. So I'm making a sincere effort to teach the data, have you look at case studies, have you look at examples, and then proceed and begin your journey with GM Infotainment and GM Most Systems.
Wow. And so this is a business opportunity.
It's a business opportunity for all. It's a
Yeah.
niche. It is a niche. You just said, and you both and all admitted, you cannot live without your radio. So if it comes in and that radio is blank face, as I call it, you may be very motivated to get it fixed.
I think
Well,
so.
I
Shut
can't
the
wait.
radio off.
I can't wait to hear more about this. This is excellent. So what is PAVE, everyone? Um, it is an incredible virtual and online. In fact, I was thinking today, G, um, PAVE your training for the remainder of 2022 by making sure you attend the December 2nd through the 5th virtual classes. It's all daytime. You have access to the courses with 30 days. And the other really cool thing about it, G, and you brought this up last week. It was you or it was someone else who said, look at as technicians, and we so much of the course content is technical, but there's a lot of business management, a lot of marketing, a lot of leadership there, right?
Hmm.
And if
Correct.
I was a technician, even considering starting my own business or wanting to respect what's going on at the front counter or the back office, and what does it really take to run a business, I'm inside of PAVE training, and I do what I want to do. I pick the courses that I want to go to, but within 30 days, I could go back and watch a management course.
And as I said last week, without management, they can't be in Wayne's class, Kenny's class, or my class. It'd be impossible.
Absolutely.
Management
Impossible.
is super important because obviously that's what brings the money in.
Yep.
So PAVE has 4 good days of training with unbelievable instructors like Wayne Colonna there and Kenny Zanders and Tom Rake that was supposed to be on, and many more, John Thornton and Scott Manor, and 55 different classes. I mean, that is a biggie. This is going to be one great event that you definitely should be on. You should not miss this training event.
What I think everyone should do is go to pavetraining.com, and you can do the agenda, you could look at the sponsors, but go to the speakers and just scroll through the speakers. And you're going to see names and see pictures of some of the top trainers in the industry. I don't know how you pulled it off, G, with your team at PAVE, but it's an honorable group. And then go look at all the courses, and you're going to be so I think impressed with what is being taught, which is why we did our show last week on this, to try to excite and bring on some trainers, and why we're doing it again today. Why today? Because Thursday is when it starts, and we figured, there's nothing like 2 days before you sign up. I mean, there's so many people that are always late to the party, but that's okay. I write my best material when it's due in an hour. So
We're their alarm clock, Calm. That's what it is, right?
yeah,
It's
exactly
a
what
wake-up
it is.
call.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Go to pavetraining.com.
Yeah. So Wayne, tell us a little bit more about this great class, Transability Meets Drivability.
Well, actually, this was something that started with G and I quite a few years ago. And since ATSG is a technical support organization for anybody who's diagnosing automatic transmissions, we get to, over a period of time, acquire a lot of what we call silver bullets, and seeing the various things that can cause a transmission to malfunction that isn't the transmission. And so this course is going to present a lot of silver bullets in regard to that. And I sort of, in a general sense, categorized the various issues that we have with brake bulbs, the various issues that we have with tire sizes, the various issues that we have with bad batteries and wrong batteries, and the issues that we have with putting the wrong fuel in your car, and things like that. And then we're going to take a look a little bit about CVTs and dual clutch transmissions. And primarily, I'm just going to focus on the type of problems that we're seeing with them, and to make sense of it so that those who are trying to diagnose it will be able to understand what's happening with them.
And Calm, Wayne puts it in such an easy way that if you're not a trans guy, you will be. You'll be able to understand that drivability and transability are really connected. If we have an engine problem, it can relate to a transmission issue. And that's what Wayne is definitely talking about, where sometimes it's overlooked and someone throws a transmission in the vehicle and it doesn't need it. And that's where I'm sure on your end, Wayne, you run into quite a few problems.
Well, especially now that ETE Reman has bought ATSG, and I work on both sides. ETE sells a lot of Reman transmissions. We actually remanufacture about 300 a day. And so our tech lines on fresh installs become quite interesting with some of the issues that we encounter. And sometimes we're putting in a transmission that the vehicle never needed a transmission. And so to diagnose it properly up front can really save a major repair from happening that didn't need to happen.
Yeah. And that's the savior. Again, understanding the complete system on a vehicle. This is another good reason why someone needs to scan the whole vehicle, go through all modules, and see if there's something else there
Absolutely.
causing that issue.
Total health. You got to check the total health of the vehicle. And it is amazing that you could actually put the wrong brake bulb inside a lens, and now you don't have converter clutch, or your converter is cycling on and off. You could have the overinflated, underinflated tire, and you'd have shift sequence issues. It just goes on and on. It's amazing the variety of issues that you have, and the transmission's not the problem.
Yeah.
So is it possible, guys, that this is really a class for non-transmission people?
Well, really, it's actually pointed towards the general repair industry. It really is. But at the same time, it's still for the transmission guy, because sometimes these the engine side of things, or the drivability side of things, or the ABS side of things are overlooked by a
Yeah.
transmission guy
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it flips both
Yep.
ways.
I see that. Excellent. I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm a non-tech. You guys know that, and so intrigued by some of those, if you will, small little things. A bulb. Come
hmm
on,
hmm
But
hmm
you guys discover that, and then you take that information, and then you make it into training.
Mm.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and the idea that I'm looking to do is, as I present one uh, silver bullet after another, after another, after another, after another, I'm trying to show that how to have that mindset of these variety of issues as part of your toolbox in your mind and your diagnostic approach to a problem, to realize what a tire can do, to realize what bad gas can do, to realize all the variety, because each manufacturer will respond to that problem differently. But
Mm-hmm.
if you get to see like a broad sweep of the thing, it helps with your approach. It I think it enriches your diagnostic abilities, is really the point.
And
Well,
Wayne, you definitely come out with ATSG has a lot of those helpful books that you guys sell. You've done plenty of training seminars and webcasts for TST, where it really has helped our members understand the other end of it.
hmm
Because most repair shops are not transmission people. And again, since they both relate, this is something that people are going to get out of your seminar at PAVE Training. This
hmm
is really a great opportunity that Wayne doesn't always come out all that much to the
Well,
non-transmission guys.
actually, gee, it's been 3 years, and it was you that pulled me out.
Well, I have that way about me. It'll be a Rigoletto special for you doing it. That's what it is.
see, G always tempts everyone with food. You do
Yeah.
know that, right?
Uh,
That's his absolute style.
Ah,
Great stuff, Wayne. We'd love to just stay with us, have some fun. By the way, I looked up the class Saturday, December 4th. Now it says it's at 3:30 p.m. Eastern.
mhm.
3:30 p.m. Eastern. It says so. Excellent, Ken. I was so intrigued by the infotainment, and I can't live without my radio thing. But you did say something. You said the GM MOST system. What's that an acronym for?
Media oriented send and transmit.
Okay.
And basically, what it is a communication language for the infotainment system.
Ah,
And what I've got to share with you what started my journey on being
yeah.
intrigued with this. I was out of town, was on vacation, and rented a GM product. I've always been fascinated with GM products. And as we are traveling around town, driving in this GM product, the radio screen goes blank. And I've been fortunate. I've never had to live without a car radio. And I have to be honest with you, after going through that for an entire week, I was literally going crazy because I thought I never knew how much I depended on the background sound of that radio. So, one of the things I did while on vacation, I visited one of the GM dealerships, and I had already done some study on the GM MOS system. Again, the interlanguage for the radio components in their systems,
Mm-hmm.
the infotainment system. And the technician, they take the vehicle in. I said, "Well, how long do you think it'll be?" He says, "I honestly can't tell you." He says, "We haven't had the course yet." I said, "So what's your strategy or game plan for getting my radio back on board?" He says, "Well, we'll start with a radio and we'll take it from there."
the old throwing the parts at the
Oh yeah,
vehicle
yeah.
game, huh?
It's parts cannon.
And
Well,
as I stood there horrified, uh, he they start off with a radio, and a radio uh, is not a radio you might envision as you did many years ago. The radio is a module. It is a module. So the other thing that fascinated me, there was another device and I won't share with you all the devices that are on there, but I got to share these two. Radio's no big deal. You've heard about that all our lives. But there was another device, another module, a human machine interface module. That's what got me hooked. I wanted to know more about what this module did. And items like Bluetooth, USB, graphics, this guy controls all that. And he's one of the suspects when that screen goes blank. But as I continued my journey, as I became more and more intrigued, I found out the actual scan tool data was extremely helpful in helping pinpoint who the bad guy is. It's like playing a game. It's like solving a Sherlock Holmes mystery. I kid you not. It's
Hmm.
intriguing. It's intriguing.
So I guess I don't have much of a chance to add an 8-track player to the system, huh?
Well,
Come on, Wayne. I thought you were a cassette at least. Come on.
All
Gonna
right,
move
all
up to
right,
cassette?
all right, all right. I'll upgrade to a cassette. How about a CD player?
well, again, there are additions that you can add onto the systems. You can add a CD player, of course, but they just have a strategy on the way they're doing things today, and just kind of interesting how all these components talk to each other, and by talking to each other, make things happen from us touching that screen,
Yeah.
literally.
And that infotainment system is not just your radio anymore, back like in the old days. It's going to be a backup camera, an alert. I mean, you can
Yes.
get email on it. I love when people email me, it comes up on there and I can just yak to the infotainment system and tell them I'm driving and I'll get back to them later or whatever, or answer it.
Yeah,
So
that.
and knowing how you put classes together, Ken, you do one hay of a job to say the least. A lot of good information besides pictures that really, to one that does not understand the system, pictures are a lifesaver,
They
right?
sure are. They
That
sure are.
picture's worth a million words, never truer than today.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Um,
It,
but
it looks to me, Ken, that this opens up a brand new area of diagnostics
I
that many the diagnosticians that are out there that are just at the top of their craft would maybe not necessarily think that the infotainment system may need their help.
well, it has another area of surprise to me. Now, when you look at your technicians that have dealt with foreign products, they're going to say, "Pfft, Kenny, we've been dealing with that for a long time. We've been dealing with fiber optic stuff. We've been doing this. We've been
Mercedes,
doing that.
Beamer, yeah,
Yeah,
years.
we're comfortable with that. Why would we take your class? Well, GM Most is with a twist. Let me expand on what I mean by that. They don't use fiber optics. They use a twisted pair of wires to do their communication. This is not the same system that you will find on those other vehicles. It's a little bit different. In fact, it's a lot different. That's why, even if you have had a lot of experience with a lot of foreign product, I would definitely invite you to begin your journey with GM systems.
That's true. You're not going to use the laser pointer to see if the fiber optics are good, are you?
No, no, won't help you
It's not
there.
going to work.
Won't help you there. The true key to it, and this is just my opinion, the true key to it is understanding the data. If you understand the data, you will understand what the system is telling you, and you have a good opportunity on finding out who the bad guy is. The system will actually point a finger at who the bad guy is. It will literally say in the data, I suspect he's the bad guy, and will literally put that in the data for you. You got to admit, that's interesting.
So, Ken, this class is for someone that is just starting out, someone that is advanced.
I would invite anyone, regardless of background, because what's going to happen, I'm going to take you down that journey where I'm going to have you look at data. We're going to simplify it, and then I will challenge you to interpret the data based on the information I gave you. And we will do case study after case study. and you will see where things will start to fall in place regardless of background. This is an area that draws interest. For the younger person who can't live without their radio, it's definitely of interest because they want their radio fixed. For the person who maybe's been around a little while, such as myself, I didn't know how bad it was to be without a radio. I didn't. And that week taught me a valuable lesson, and that's what steered me in this direction.
So this is going to be a good step-by-step walking someone through the diagnostic process and on to the repair.
Oh,
Not just
absolutely.
changing a radio.
No, not just changing a radio.
And probably
Radio,
didn't work.
yeah, radio in many cases may not have anything to do with it. It could be one of the other components.
Excellent.
The
Could be a-
reason that it looks to me like a very in-depth class, it's a 4.5-hour class, right, Ken?
Yeah, we're about 4.5 hours.
And it's 10 o'clock this Saturday, the 4th. And the really cool thing about it is if you book yourself another class during that time, you can always go back and rewatch this because you get access for 30 days.
Yes.
For 30 days with PAVE Training.com. So let's remind everyone, it starts this Thursday. It runs through Sunday, PAVE Training.com, the 2nd through the 5th. It's the final, if you will, major blast virtual training of the year, and something that I don't think you should go without. It's very inexpensive to sign up for all of these 55 classes that are out there. I know you can't take all 55 over the course of these days, but you can always go back and watch them, and then go back to the shop and and teach what you learned.
Yes.
Share your newfound knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One other comment, and I was glad to hear this. A friend of mine who participated in some ASE test preparation. Now, again, he couldn't discuss in detail anything with me, but what he did share with me, he said there was one question on the upcoming test on GM Most. It's in the electrical section.
Wow.
That's
So,
important.
so it has made its way to the ASE test exam.
That's humbling.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well,
And,
and-
Very humbling.
and basically, it's asking you a question about your understanding of the scan tool data for the radio.
And techs nowadays really need to test and not guess. The guessing is way too expensive nowadays, whether it's on a radio or transmission or any component, because programming even comes into play, right?
It sure does.
You work on a new vehicle, if you don't know how to do that, and with PAVE with 55 plus training classes, there is a bunch of information that the attendee needs to pick out. If you haven't signed up yet, you need to sign up. What are you waiting for?
Mhm.
Training doesn't cost, it pays. And at PAVE, it's a great deal. Give yourself that Christmas gift that maybe the significant other won't give you.
And,
It's really important to go out and look not only at Ken's class or Wayne's class or mine, but we got John Thornton, we got Scott Mann, and we got Bernie Thompson. You got all the heavy hitters, plus all the management people. Vin Waterhouse and all Bill Haas and so on. Think about that. And if you're into collision, they got it all covered. That's what's really nice. It's all covered right there. 4 days of training. As Com said, 30 days of review, handouts that you can download, which is really a plus. Now think about that when you're dealing with something that you're not familiar with. We go to a live event, you hear the person once, right? Well, you can't go back. You may ask, well, how does that work, and get that one answer. But sometimes we need, as humans, we need to hear, read, see, write something, sometimes 6 times before it gets up
Mhm.
there.
Absolutely.
The older we get, with a big wet sponge, right? And a wet sponge can't absorb anything. We need to wring it out, right?
I always think of it like a file cabinet. When I used to be able to pull out what I needed. Now it's like an apartment complex. When somebody moves in, someone's got to move out. There's only so much.
There's only so much you can get up there.
Yeah.
Hey, G, tell me a little bit about the interaction with the student. Can the student ask questions of the trainer?
Very good question. Yes, students can ask questions. There's a moderator on every session that will, field the questions, and the instructor can tell the moderator, I would like the question asked to me so I can answer it right now. That's what I'm doing with my moderator.
Yeah.
I like when they come in, I rather answer them. Some guys halftime or at the end, but
Yeah.
all questions will be asked if it pertains to the training that is being presented, obviously.
Mhm.
Every once in a while you get somebody in left field, but we're all available. Every instructor, will be available with their emails afterwards if someone has a problem. They're not 100% sure. Knowing all the technical guys and many of the management guys, I can tell you they're all top notch and they're willing to help. They do this to help the industry.
Yeah.
Both Wayne and Ken, Wayne still writes in Transmission Digest, and there are some great, great articles there, very helpful. Besides all those, are they not passkey? What are those little manuals you make for your training events, Wayne? What are they called?
The handouts that
The
we give there.
handouts, those special books that
Yeah,
you
well,
have.
we called them. We did call them pass books. Pressures, applications,
Yeah.
sensors,
See?
solenoids. Yes, they a quick overview of the functionality of a transmission and how to quickly identify the shifting order of the solenoids, pressures, all the things that you quickly need at your fingertips to diagnose a
Right.
transmission.
And today's transmission, as both of us know, and Ken as well,
Mhm.
they're very expensive. And you make
Yeah.
one mistake, could be wrong fluid. It could be, we had one at GMC in where not only it needed to be programmed in one area, but now it needed a special relearn procedure. And when you had to go into the GM GDS software, you had to go to two different places, not one place, just to do it. And this seems to be something that sometimes people just don't understand.
Mhm.
So it's not your father's Oldsmobile, as I usually like saying. It's
Uh-huh.
way more advanced.
Mhm.
So
Ken,
we need
Wayne,
that.
do you guys like to take the questions as you go, or do you like to take them in segments, like during breaks?
Well,
No.
oh, did you ask me or Ken?
Or both of
Well,
you?
well, Wayne, you go
Wayne,
first. Wayne, you go
Wayne, you go
Okay.
first.
first. Yeah.
Well, it depends on the questions. There's some questions that I actually have to look and see if I can give them an answer, and some questions I can answer right away. So I would actually pick and choose. And if it's a question that I can't answer, I would like to say that I want to have a way to contact you and let me see if I can get you that answer, and
Right.
I'll get
Mhm.
back to you.
That's right. Because we don't all know everything, right?
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
It's sometimes you do have to look it up, or it may just be off your radar.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and as a trainer, don't you seem that keeps you on your edge by getting a question that you may not necessarily know the perfect answer to?
Oh, actually, I love them because
Mhm.
sometimes it sends me down a very interesting road, and I find out that other people are struggling with the same problem, and I learned another lesson. And you always learn, and you always get
Absolutely.
better.
Right.
Absolutely.
When you have a problem, that's when you get good at something.
Hmm.
Same thing like working on a car. When you get one that's really kicking your butt, you do all the research on that and you look through it and you understand description and operation of that system. That's when you become very well in tuned with that particular problem. And that's how you get
Mhm.
good at it. Otherwise, that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
And we also have Ken who writes for magazines sometimes, many
Yeah.
times actually, with
Yeah.
some great information that I always enjoy reading.
I I think the most interesting one, not a big deal diagnosis, but a vehicle came in and it had a code for a one of the cam sensors for a VVT engine. And basically, what happened, the phaser on the intake side, not kidding, literally exploded inside the engine. And of course, the engine stopped. So the shop takes the vehicle in. They put it back to, they carefully put everything back together. You could literally see where it had damaged the block near the phaser. And they put everything back together very carefully, started the engine up. They get a code indicating that there's an issue with the cam sensor on the exhaust side. So the shop is a little perplexed. What happened when the intake phaser exploded? It damaged the valve cover. So they had to order a brand new valve cover for this particular vehicle. But with the valve cover came a new exhaust cam sensor. So they call the dealership. Dealership says, well, we'll send you a new sensor. They get a new sensor, same code. Uh, they went through this about 3 times with the dealer. They then called me in and said, hey, would you mind just taking a look at it, see if there's anything you can come up with? I scope it, and when you looked at the waveform pattern, it was the exact opposite of what you would expect to see. So I called the dealer and I said, hey, is there any other sensor that might apply to this vehicle? I suspect I might have the incorrect sensor. And he says, no way. He says, I looked in our resources. This is the sensor for that particular vehicle, its engine size, and its VIN number. And I said, okay. So I then went to service information. Sometimes when you go to service information, there'll actually be part numbers in there. And the 3 digits for the cam sensor that I had was 510. And in service information, it showed 500. So I called the dealership back. I said, does this sensor still exist, the 500? He says, yeah, it exists. I said, why don't you send it to me? He sends it to me. We install it. Vehicle fixed. I call the dealership back respectfully. I said, hey, I don't know what's going on, but that 510 part number does not fix this vehicle. It actually causes a problem. He argues. So I sent him a complete report showing everything I did. He goes, you know what? I've got to share this with corporate. He says, you're right. This is an issue. So for anyone coming in today who's looking to replace that sensor from the dealer, it's a good chance you're going to get the wrong sensor. You're going to create your own problem. And I don't doubt eventually that the shop would get it fixed. But as always, when I talk to any shop owner, time is money. If that vehicle's delayed being returned for 1, 2, 3 days, I think you'll agree, indirectly or directly, you lost money and time.
No doubt. No doubt.
So
this is-
my big takeaway, G, Ken, Wayne, is content comes from the real world.
Oh, you bet.
Yep, absolutely.
These are real problems. I always say when I'm doing one of my classes, these are real things that happen in my bays. And sharing that experience, not that you want a bunch of silver bullets, but I know these guys, and like myself, we explain why we went that way. I don't just take the backhoe out when a shovel will do the job. I'm going to use the easiest thing to diagnose and fix that car. And that is a super important thing to do when you're going through a class and you're listening to the instructor. See the process, the game plan, as I always say, of how he set it up or she set it up to go in and diagnose that particular problem. Because silver bullets can be a big problem. We've all seen them before. There are great info systems out there. But what happens when you put that expensive part in and it don't work?
Exactly.
That's when people go back and go, oh, that part stinks from that manufacturer. I put it in and didn't fix it. Well, maybe it didn't need that part. Maybe you missed something. And that, I think, is what you're going to get if you sign up today at www.pavetraining.com. Don't miss out. This is a great opportunity.
This is great, guys. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I started to think of you talk about silver bullets, G, and then I kind of thought of, with all the training that we go through as the top echelon of our industry, you're creating personal wisdom bullets of your very own based on the knowledge that you're getting and the network that you have. And Ken, if this was at the dealer, they would kept putting number 511, 511, 511. They'd keep putting it in there.
Yeah.
They'd empty the shelves, right? And then they still wouldn't fix the problem. So anyway,
Well, again, it turns into an inner joke. How many sensors would they put on before they realize, you know what, this vehicle isn't getting fixed?
how many sensors does it take to fix this guy? Yeah, it's a great joke. Great joke. Hey, I had a blast, guys. Thank you for being here to talk about PAVE that's coming up starting Thursday. PaveTraining.com. Ken Zanders, Appreciate so much. I'm excited about your class. It sounds like some really great information about infotainment and the GM Most system. And Wayne, wow, transability meets drivability. Anybody should go to that one.
Absolutely.
And G, I'm sorry, but I never talked about the class you're teaching.
I don't matter.
Well, yeah, you're right. You do. Advanced diagnostic strategies, tool and equipment drivability. Wow.
Yeah, going to be doing some hands-on. We'll have multiple cameras. We're going to be on a vehicle besides giving them information how to test stuff. You know, many people spend a big deal of money on expensive equipment and they don't know how to use it. It gets dust on it. And this could be anything from a meter up to a scope or anything in between. You know, sensor simulators that helpful with transmissions or drivability.
Yeah.
A lot of people do not understand how to do that, or even as simple as bi-directional control, Con. So people have these scan tools and they don't understand when they send a bi-directional signal out, if it works, what that really means. And that's what I'll be explaining in my class. But let's not forget, no one would be here for technical training if it wasn't for the management training.
Yeah.
So again, I want to remind everyone, and I don't do management, but I know my buddy, Vin Waterhouse. I love going to that guy's training. Besides others that are out there, you need the training.
Yeah.
You need to stay up. And even if you're not an owner, you need to understand what the owner needs to go through.
Yeah.
It's very, very important.
Appreciate that, G. G's class is Thursday, December 2nd at 2:30 Eastern. And G, again, if you don't catch G's class, which is a lengthy class, multiple camera shots, a lot of great knowledge, you can always catch it within the 30-day. And to your point, Dave Shadeen is going to be there. Clint White, Chris Clodier, Carolyn Cocolette, Bill Haas, all kinds of great. Brian Walker, there's going to be stuff on marketing. A lot of great management trainers. Cecil Bullard's going to be there. Sarah Frazier. So, wow,
So who of whose? It's
Scott
everybody.
Brown, God, you got to go to one of Scott Brown's ADAS classes. I mean, who could miss one of those, right? And of course, Tanner Brandt. And there's got to be 40 different trainers doing these 55 classes. It's amazing stuff. So I wish you all the best. I think I'll see everybody. I think I'm going to kick this thing off Thursday by just welcoming everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Ken Zanders, G. Trulia, Wayne Colonna. Thanks, guys.
For the
Appreciate
invitation.
Thank you.
And Com, we appreciate you. Thanks for
you.
opening
Thanks,
PAVE
man.
up for us next Thursday.
Okay. Thank you, man.